Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
You talk about Christ or whoever's on the call, whatever's listening, whatever higher power they have, all you're doing there, and in my opinion, when I see religion or a higher power for that matter, all that is really is a blueprint as to how to live your life. And so when I work with people, I ask them, what are your core values? And that's what you want to live off of. And so for a man like you, that religion is providing you with the blueprint as to how to do things right, how to live your life in a way that you can look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm in the right direction. That's how I perceive it. I'm open to any other opinion,
Sure.
completely, but that's the power of it. And so the beautiful thing about religion is that the answers are there.
Also, everybody, welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast, like the best podcast out there. If you don't know, you need to know. Where do you follow? I'm glad you asked. YouTube at CV Space K, Instagram CVMK33, Instagram also at CVMK_global, TikTok CVMK Global. You're seeing the recurring theme, and where you get the best fitness supplements at www.cvmkglobal.store. Like I have in my hand, Superpower, one of the most amazing pre-workouts on the market. I have a great episode with a great person. We're going to talk about mental performance mastery. So I reached out to this guest. He acquiesced, and I appreciate it. We've been chatting about how we can make this work. So with that said, audience, let's welcome Isaac Rapaport. Isaac, how are you doing today?
I'm good, my man. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
Man, I'm here. I'm happy. I'm excited to connect with you. I'm excited to share the value that you're going to bring to the audience and just discuss because there's a lot of things to unpack here. So I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for this discussion. So off the bat, mental performance mastery, or I would say mental discovery, is a blooming term that is so layered. All right. Like the question that I always say is like, what aspect of it, right? Is this some type of psychological therapy? Is this some type of, I don't know, nuanced science, pseudoscience? Like, because there's so many different layers. I meet with so many different people, and it's like, right, what specifically do you do? Right. So for the audience, what is your specific niche and criteria?
So I'm a mental performance specialist, and I work with athletes, business owners, and then just anybody really that's just trying to, unpack and remove any barriers that are currently in the way of them getting from where they currently are to where they want to be. And you're absolutely right. There's so much around performance, psychology and science and this and that. My approach is very practical. It's not so clinical. Whereas, we just try to recognize what's this blind spot, what's this thing that just keeps getting in the way, and recognizing it, and then providing my clients with tools to get around that. And sometimes that could show up in the form of a Division I college athletic team, and it could show up as a sales team for a marketing company, and it could really be anything, because in reality, performance, we all have to perform every day, whether it's performing as a mother or husband, or performing as a business owner, sure, or even just performing, as a friend or a family member. We have to perform in everything that we do, and our life is going to be judged by our performances. It sounds kind of raw, but that's real. That's what it is. If you look at your life, you're going to be judged, and you're going to have things based on how you perform. That's the way that life works. And so my job, in short, is to recognize what's getting in the way from certain people getting what they want. And then once we recognize that, well, then we could fix it, because we can't fix what we don't know.
I think that's fair, right? You can't fix what you don't know. Before I push back, because I want to dive just a tad bit deeper, you talk about, understanding that blind spot, right? But anything that deals with sight, blindness obviously is a varied response, right? There's legally blind, and then there's the total
That's not what.
disruption of it. So how do you do that, right? Like, what do you say in just an overall generality is the biggest blind spot to most of your clients?
It's tough to say because it's not so consistent. The only thing that is consistent is the patterns. And so when we break it down and start looking back at certain patterns, how come I'm always, in a dead end job, or how come I always meet the wrong guy, but it's not, because the job is constantly changing, the guy is constantly changing, or in sports, how come the coaches don't like me? I'm not getting the playing time I want. Well, those things are always changing. The only thing that's constant is you. And so once you recognize the pattern, then you could say, hey, wait a second. That takes you have to be insightful, and reflect. But once you do that, you can start recognizing a certain pattern. And when the pattern's not going the way you want it to go, that's probably where your blind spot is at. What am I doing? What about my behavior? What about my patterns? What about my my routines, my habits? What about my lifestyle is not aligned with what I say I want? That makes sense?
The pattern. So pattern analysis. So based off of reoccurring themes, right? Reoccurring activities and selections. You kind of take this set of data and you're trying to isolate what truth is to that person, right? Like why they keep going back to whatever the actions are, right? Whatever these negative actions are. Where does it distinguish? Like, where do you, and like you said, because it's not about the clinical science of it all. So like, how do you take a non-clinical approach? And it's fine, because obviously, like, I'm a person of faith. Obviously that's not a clinical science, right? Faith, spirituality, Christ and even though he is the creator of all things, not a clinical science. So I'm cool with that. But how do you specifically go about it?
So basically, well, for one, it's all tied in, and you can't do, yes, it's practical, my approach, which I'll share with you right now.
Sure.
But it's also backed by science. I just don't feel the need to really dive so deep into what's going on with the neurological pathways in our brain. It doesn't matter. It's Monday. I got to get after it, right? I don't care why or who or what. I got to get after it. So we set up a system as to how to get that thing. Now, you also talked about, religion. I too am a man of faith, and I believe that it is important to have something to believe, to believe in. I don't care what religion or what, but you got to understand that there's something bigger than you. We're not that significant, and too many of us are walking around this earth thinking that we're really that important, and we're not. We came from nothing, and we're going to end up nothing. And I know that sounds very, very, very dark, but it's very empowering. Because once you understand that you're not that important, well, then you could do anything, right? But once you think that you're that super important and the whole world is resting on your shoulders, every decision becomes very, very complicated. You got to be okay with making mistakes, okay with understanding that it's fine. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fall on my face, and the world will carry on. And that's what allows us to keep moving forward. So that's the talk about the religion aspect of it, if you will, or I don't even call it religion. I just call it higher power for that matter. But beyond that, you asked about, clinical versus practical. It's Monday. We got to get after it. What's my AM routine, right? So I'll sit down with a client and say, hey, you know what? It's always really hard for me to get going, and I find myself in slumps. And when I'm on and I'm killing it, and business is good and family is good. But when I'm down, I'm really down. And so they find inconsistencies in their life. And I'm sure you could probably relate to that. Shit, I can. That's for sure.
Sure.
And so in order to balance these ups and downs, because they could be exhausting. They could be absolutely exhausting on a person's soul. And so, we start finding certain things that we do within our routines, such as an AM routine. Most people, if you ask them, what's your AM routine? Where do you plug in certain things that you want to accomplish during the day? Are you doing them first thing when you wake up in the first hour of the day? What's your PM routine? How are you wrapping up the day? because there's so much chaos going in between those two times those are really magical times where you can really kind of control that up and down wave because you have some consistency. So that's just one approach of, it's practical. A 12-year-old can understand that, right? It's not science. It's not crazy. It's a very simple approach that really does have huge benefits moving forward. Just having something to start your day, having something to finish your day.
I like it. We will be back with more questions as a word from our sponsors.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CBMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cbmkglobal.store.
All right, and we're back. So cool. There was a lot to unpack there. I appreciate it. And I do agree on the simplicity of truth can be infused without an analytical breakdown of everything, right? Totally agree. How the details line up, that's where it gets a little confusing. And that's why I mentioned what I mentioned as something separate, because that can lead to other conversations. What I mean by that, like, it's hard for me to separate goal from God. And this is where it gets, because I think there's a generalized world conceived notions that all are the same, but that's not true. And I'm trying to say this without saying it, but it's how deep one is in that particular truth is going to really matter, right? So, like, let's just use me for an example. You know, I can only use me. I don't know anybody else, right? I just know me.
Right.
I mean, obviously, no, but I know me. So for me, my alignment is going to be based off of what the word says. I'm going to take however I fit it in, and that's going to have its variance. And I'm going to always submit it, because I do agree that I think it is an issue of humility. I think you hit it dead on the head. I totally concur. I think there is a sense of self-righteousness and downright pride and arrogance that affects the human populace. I think we've all have kind of bought into this level up mentality and whatnot, and we become our own rulers. But the reality is we're all connected, and we should all be a servant of all, right? Like, there shouldn't be a hierarchy. Not like there are positions, but like not a thing of intrinsic value, right? So how do we go about that? My pushback, and this is where the question lies within, is it's hard for me to focus on something that is so weighty, right? And I do agree. I think we do get it in our way a lot. But like the mind, because the mind is unique, and not have that spiritual component. And I am practical, at least I try to be. I do believe in therapy. I do believe in mental performance assessment in so many different measurements, right? So many different ways, because there's a lot of different tools out there. I think is the best way to say it. But the governing source for me, and that's why I say it can never be separate from Christ. Let me ask it this way. This is better, because that was a long-winded question.
No, but I got you.
Let me ask it this way. You engage with a lot of different individuals, and you get to be present in conversations that are very vulnerable. I think that's the fairest way to say, right? And you have to service them, right? And be there. And when you hit this vulnerable spot, and let's say, because to one, their obstacle might be, man, I just can't stop playing video games. Whatever, that's an obstacle. I'm not downplaying it. That's a real thing. Like, that's a real thing. Procrastination is a real thing. But there might be something really, really, really sticky, or really something that is really a lot to deal with. When you run into that, what do you do?
When you're saying, are you saying that an individual that's playing video games is, it's more than just an addiction to playing a video game? Maybe they're getting away from something. Yeah,
like when you run into that, so they say you uncovered that block, but you realize that challenge is way deeper than video games.
All right, so let me break it down for you like this. You ever had a neck? You ever go to sleep and you have a little you have a kink in your neck and you can't turn your neck one way or the other? Sure. Right? You've experienced that, right?
Yeah.
And so you're rubbing away, right? And you're like, oh man, I'm feeling it right here. And you're rubbing away, but you know what? The pain is what you feel right here. Where it's coming from, all of a sudden you go to a chiropractor, whoever it may be, the dude digs his elbow or his thumb deep into your shoulder, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, look at that, right? But he didn't even touch your neck where the pain was. He was digging into your shoulder. You see, the pain shows up here, but it's much deeper rooted than that. And so our job is to find out, when I say ours, mine and whoever's sitting in front of me, whether it's an individual or a company or a team, is to find out what's the root of the problem. Because we can spend all day fixing the branches, right? But you chop off one branch, give it some time, it's going to grow back, right? That's just that's how it is. That's our behaviors, right? And so until we figure out what the root of the problem is, we're really not solving anything. And so what you described right there, my man, is exactly what I face every single day. And they, I get stories that come to me and they swear that this is the problem. And if I just fix this one thing, everything will work out. This is the problem. No, this is not the problem. Okay. The problem is far deeper than that. For example, a lot of drug addicts, right? They say alcohol or drugs is the problem. No, that's not the problem. That's how they deal with the problem. And we got to find out what's the root. What's the real problem? What are we getting away from? What are our limiting beliefs? What is our inner critic telling us, right? What is the information that we're feeding ourselves? Once you figure that out, and you're right, that's sticky. It's a lot deeper. And so when I say that I do it in a practical manner, as I've just shared, everything I just said right now is psychotherapy, right? But I don't say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. I ask questions. Sure. And based off of you answering the certain questions, eventually a light bulb is going to go out and be like, God damn, that's what it is. How long have I been behaving a certain way, expecting different results? And that's when, and for each individual, you got to do the deep work to figure out what is it, like we started off talking about. Why are these things continuing to happen? Now, unfortunately, most of the population is just going to keep going, hammering away, keep doing the same thing, getting the same results, same thing, same results. But the intelligent one is going to have self-awareness and say, hey, wait a second, I want something different here. I want better relationships with my family, with my kids. I want to get out of this job that I've just been working in. I want to move up in the ranks, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. That's why I said performance is performance. Right. You got to perform in all these things, but you have to have self-awareness, and you have to be asked the right questions and guided. I don't tell anybody what to do. I just bring them to a position where they know what they need to do, the change they need to make in order to get what it is that they want. Does that make sense a little bit? I know I was kind of a long answer to an interesting question, but
yeah, you're good.
But that's, when you talk.
What's up? I'm super pumped. Just got done with another workout. It's your boy CVMK33. Connect me on Instagram and on the business page at CVMK_global. You know how I get through it. You know how I get that pump looked. Best pre-workout on the market. www.cvmkglobal.store. You talk about Christ or whoever's on the call, whatever's listening, whatever higher power they have. All you're doing there, and in my opinion, when I see religion or a higher power for that matter, all that is really is a blueprint as to how to live your life. And so when I work with people, I ask them, what are your core values? And that's what you want to live off of. And so for a man like you, that religion is providing you with the blueprint as to how to do things right, how to live your life in a way that you can look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm in the right direction. That's how I perceive it. I'm open to any other opinion, sure.
Completely. but that's the power of it. And so the beautiful thing about religion is that the answers are there. And the way I look at it is, I've been here. I'm turning 40 in 2 weeks, right? God willing, I have 50,
Happy
60
birthday.
more years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to have 40, 50, 60 more years, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it. Millions of people have been here before me. Millions of people are going to be here after me. Why am I going to try to figure all of this out on my own? There's things that works, right? Success leaves clues. So instead of trying to do this 100% based on my opinion, and I don't live a long enough life to what's the better way to say, maybe to not rediscover, but to reinvent this entire thing called life and success, however it is that you choose to define it, right? And so understanding that I have my opinions about certain things,
Sure.
but my opinions come by looking at other people that have already done things successfully. In right now I have 2 baby girls I was sharing with you earlier.
Sure.
What do I know about being a dad? You go to sleep one day, you wake up the next day, you're a dad. 9 months later, you got another one coming, right? So we're all trying to figure this thing out. So what I do personally is, because I want to raise my baby girls, to give them, so they're empowered and strong and can and believe in themselves and have confidence.
Yeah.
And so I look at other people and I say, hey, what's that guy doing? How is he talking to his daughter? How is he disciplining or loving her? And then so if I have my 5 or 6 people that I liked, that I didn't really like how he did that, so I'll leave that out. But that one, I'm going to take that thing, and that's how I base how I want to do it. And and I'm constantly learning, making mistakes, learning, making adjustments, learning, and and it's the same with ourselves. Just like everybody, you approach a job, you approach business in a certain way. You get a response from a client. That's not what you wanted. You make some adjustments, send it back. It's the same with ourselves.
Yeah.
If you got to try something, didn't work, bring it back, make some adjustments, and get back out there.
Isaac, I like you, man. I respect you, man. And one of the things about it is you're you. Like, I don't plan on everybody to agree with me. My belief, my faith is obviously not going to align with the masses, and I don't want it. I would like it obviously too, but that's not the goal of it. The goal is it's a truth that I've accepted, right? But I think where human beings get it wrong is that my truth should not eradicate another's, right? Like, my truth is my truth. Only God really can decide what true is, right? But my responsibility, which is beyond truth, is to learn and to love, right? And to appreciate. And one of the reasons why I wanted you on here, and I'm glad you do it, is because you do come from a different perspective, right? You do. And I do believe, and really what, your intent and your purpose is to help people, and something that we have mismanaged. Now, I don't care who it is, is that we see everything as adversarial, like, it is not. Everything is somehow connected, even when it doesn't feel like it's aligned, right?
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Like you said, one day you wake up and you're just a dad. So take this purpose, right? I got a couple, I know we're running out of time. I got a couple questions left. How did you get into this? Because you like you said, you wake up one day and you're dad, but obviously there was steps for that to happen. And like that, there's steps for you to be in your own business, for you to own this, for you to really engage in this.
Yeah.
What led you to this point?
So the most of my business is based off of athletes.
Okay.
I was an athlete my entire life. I played soccer my entire life, and I realized through my ups and downs, successes and failures, that just like I mentioned earlier, the circumstances were often, they were just interchangeable, right? It's this coach, it's that team, it's this situation, it's that situation, right? But my approach towards it changed. And so I realized that the mental aspect of the game is huge. It's not just athleticism, it's not just, your craft and your technique. Rather, your mental is bigger than anything else. And when you look at athletes, and I don't know if you saw, Michael Jordan's The Last Dance.
Yeah, of course.
And it's I think a 10-part series, and it was just, the entire thing was on mental performance. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They barely talked about basketball. It was just, let's get inside this guy's head and figure out what's this monster.
Yeah.
And and we talk about the great Kobe Bryant, right?
Yeah.
Mamba mentality. So anybody, in sports, the ones that are super successful are the ones that have the right mindset. So I got really interested in that. And I've always been into sports and because I feel that sports is just a mirror for life. The way you perform you can't hide on the field. If you're arrogant, if you're egocentric, it's going to show up within 5 minutes. I've always said, I can live with someone for a full year, but let me play with them for 10 minutes and I'll know more about them. Because you can't hide that. When you're on the field, you cannot hide that. So I started working with athletes. I played my entire life, and then I studied this stuff and, did all kinds of courses and got the proper tools. A lot of it is psychotherapy, like we talked about, neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to athletes and teams, and they were like, dang, you know what? I never knew how important this actually is. Like once we talked about it, they're like, you know what? That was their blind spot. They didn't even know that it was affecting them. And then what happened was, I meet with an athlete, and within 2 or 3 sessions, we're no longer talking about his sport. We're talking about his relationship with his dad, and how he feels that he's not good enough, which is a limiting belief, or certain things like that. And so when you said it's all tied in together, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. It's all tied in together. And sometimes you just need somebody else to show you an angle. Like you, for example, have never seen your own ear. Just on this call, I've seen your ears more than you've ever seen it in your entire life. You've seen it through a mirror, but never like the way I'm seeing it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Right. And so sometimes we need to have somebody from the side, someone, objectively tell us, hey, this is, you could do what you want with that, but this is what I'm recognizing. This is what I'm seeing. And so often in life, we're just so caught up in our own direction and what we're doing. And we don't stop to look left and right. We just, go gung ho forward. And so it's not always the best. It's never the best approach. I love being motivated. I love motivating people. I love getting people on the right path, but you got to stop every once in a while, look left, look right, and say, hey, what's going on here? What's really important? And I think that's what ties into then what you brought up in a higher power and belief and stuff like that. And I think that is crucial. It's absolutely crucial. Again, I don't want to push any religion for that matter, but what I am saying is believing in something bigger than yourself is crucial and very important for your success moving forward, because you alone can't do it. You can't do it.
It's true. I like it. I'm looking at my ears and these little Keebler ears. You do have to take the time to definitely take that self-assessment. Isaac, I'm gonna give you before I ask your sign off. If somebody, if you could tell that executive or that is looking at inflation and because I'm reading a lot on LinkedIn and there's a lot of layoffs. Hulu just laid off, Netflix is laid off, everybody's trying to do this prepare for the worst type scenario, and they're contemplating looking at their workforce and whatnot, and they are trying to assess performance, so they throw in a lot of stupid technology to see if the people are actually working. What do you tell that CEO?
And I wanted to follow. You're asking the CEO for that matter
so they're trying to say
if his employees are working.
They said, Isaac, look, I need to make some changes. If we don't, we're going to run out of funding. I don't want to fire 60% of my workforce, but I need a way to evaluate really engagement and productivity. What do you tell?
Honestly, in my opinion, let's get back old school. Get back on the floor. Start having conversations with your crew. Don't use technology to figure out how much time they spend on it. Have a conversation with them. You see, we can lie through technology. We do it all the time, don't we?
That's true.
Look at Instagram. You think they live, you got a girl doing she's in her garage looking like she's in the Bahamas. Come on now. Right. We can lie. We can lie through technology. You can't lie when you look a man in the eyes and say, hey, what's been going on? How do you feel about your production? And within 30 seconds to a minute, you're going to know if this person, this man or woman is on board. Are they on your team? But bigger than that, the CEO needs to know what's my culture? What's the culture of this company that I'm running? And then go and ask people and see whether or not they align with your culture, rather than when you don't know what you want, yet you think that they're going to have the answer to what you want. You got to first know what you want. then have conversations with each and every one of them and figure out, hey, this is where we're at, and then you got to trust yourself, your gut feeling as to whether this person is on board with you or not. That's my, I'm just old school like that. I know the technology is super important, but don't make it too important. Don't forget that we're humans at the end of the day.
I like it. Don't forget that we're humans, y'all. That is so needed. Whatever decision that you're contemplating, understand how vital and how sensitive it is, and understand that we're humans, and your decision will affect another human being. They wanted to connect with you, they wanted to solicit your services and say, look, I need your services, I need this type of coaching, or my team needs you. Where can they reach you?
So you can always email itzik@mentalcoachpro.com. I spell my name ITZIK. Instagram @mentalcoachpro.com. And you know what? I'll even go one up on you, bigger than, even make it even stronger. You can call my personal cell phone number, 818-942-4466. Now, people say that I'm crazy when I do that. I don't care. That's my cell phone number. Call, text, and, we'll kind of take it from there. My mission in this world is to affect as many people as I can. So I'm going to make myself as easily accessible as possible.
I like that, because there's a lot of people who wouldn't give out their personal cell. You'll get a Google Voice number, and
I have a Google Voice number.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Hey, y'all connect with Isaac. He is really trying to make a change. Yo, connect with him on Instagram. Follow all of his social media platforms. Reach out, call his cell, set up an appointment. Take that mental performance to the next level. He's been an amazing guest, amazing just person. Y'all connect with him. We believe in him. Give him a shout out. If you want to keep seeing inspirers, influencers, leaders, content creators, all great things, you know what you got to do. YouTube at CV Space K, Instagram CVMK33, business page CVMK Global or _global, and the website where it goes down, www.cvmkglobal.store. Until next time, guys. Thanks.